Good day, Bashana. We are back again, and today we are going to be discussing paper 2. This is on mathematics. I know that you guys are really busy right now, preparing towards your final exams. So, today I've got my other person.
Yes.
Ombuso Mr. Booty. Okay. So he's one of our tutors at the center.
Sure.
And today he's going to help me to really try and unpack all the salient point when it comes to paper 2 mathematics. And of course, if there are any questions, we'll try and get to those questions.
What's your name? Green! I got 100 on my dash, got 200 in my trunk. Name in the grab bags for my trunk. Like a rocker on the top of my binocular.
Mr. Booty, how are you?
Malume, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great.
Hi, Bashana, Sunboy.
Sure. So automatically that makes you a malume as well. I know. He's a very young man.
Some of you are still unsubscribed. Shares has been telling me that over 55% of you have not yet subscribed but have been enjoying the content. Please, why don't you go ahead and do the right thing? Click on that subscribe button. Let's go back to the lesson.
All right, so I just thought to myself that we just need to discuss. Perhaps let's start with the low-hanging fruit.
Sure.
Right, for paper 2.
Sure.
Let's look at what would be your advice? What would be your approach for paper 2 if you were a student? If you were going to sit in for that paper, what would you do?
So, first of all, thank you for that. Stats. So stats, I would definitely try to maximize my efforts there, because that 20 marks is a straightforward 20 marks. You know what they are going to ask. You know the structure in which they are going to ask it. So sometimes in terms of if there's a scatter plot there,
Okay.
or an ogive, or I have to draw that ogive.
Okay.
So those things make sure that
Let's dive right into
Yeah.
it. So on statistics for grade 12, what are we expecting? Expecting scatter plots?
scatter plots,
Right, so
yes.
they have to, that's simple calculator work.
Yes.
And please guys, for those of you that perhaps may not know how to use your calculators yet, please go on to my videos. I'll show you, I take you through the steps there. Quite a simple, straightforward process. I think all our calculators are more or less the
Yes.
same, and the process for you to input data is kind of the same. So that's bivariate data,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you're looking at bivariate data. We are drawing. Firstly, we're looking at scatter plot, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you were saying.
Yes, and we have group data, which then will lead us to our cumulative frequency graph, which is the ogive. And
I don't think we exhausted that first one. And it's scatter plots. So what do they need to know?
oh yes, the scatter plot. You just need to know how to plot your bivariate data. Which one goes into the x, which one goes into y, and when you see your scatter plot, yes. There is a relationship between your variables, so make sure that you have that that those relationships in order. You know what a strong positive correlation looks like.
So when you evaluation of the R,
Yes, the
value,
R value,
which is the
correlation
coefficient, right?
Yes.
So if, for instance, if your R value is 0.6, and that's not a very strong. Now, if you've got a positive gradient, right, and you've got an R value which is positive 0.6, what does that mean?
Sure.
Right?
So yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So that R value is, yes, positive. It's a positive correlation, but unfortunately, it is not a strong one.
Yeah.
Although
so we can say moderate, positive, and so those are the things that are important.
Sure.
Firstly, to know the strength of it. Secondly, to note how strong it is, right? So for instance, if you get 0.4 would be a poor correlation.
Sure.
Right? So if it is an upward trend, then we say that it's a poor positive correlation,
Sure.
right? It means that the independent and your dependent variable are not very related to each other,
Sure.
right? So this is when you've got all your data points scattered on over, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then if we look at, let's say, 0.6 to, shall we say, 0.8,
Yeah.
that would be moderate,
Yes.
right? Okay,
And we'll see
Positive.
that with some points getting closer to our line, our correlation line. So that will indicate to say, okay, the strength of the relationship is moderate. It gives us something, but it does not give us a lot of confidence, but it does give us something.
give us confidence.
And then, yeah, if then all the points on your scatter plot touch that line of best fit, then definitely that will be a strong correlation, more or less over 0.85 going upwards.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. 0.85 if you go all the way to 1. Of course, perfect correlation is when your R value is 1, right?
Sure.
So that means all your data points kind of sit on your line of best fit. In fact, that would be the actual
yes.
the actual line. Yeah, so that is important for you to evaluate. Now, some of the things that may be important there is the interpretation of data, right? Understand what is the meaning, for instance, for your independent variable. Your independent variable would be the one on your x-axis, as well as your dependent variable, the one on your y-axis. So you have to be able to calculate, and it's a straightforward thing. So for instance, if the other day, I think we're doing a question, I'm trying to remember.
Sure.
They were measuring, was it heat related to something? I'm just quite...
height.
Yeah.
Was it height? Was it the one with the height?
Yeah, height against the temperature or something like that. But I'm just making an example. No?
Yeah.
So if you were saying that, let's say the height of a flower,
Okay.
all right, relative to the temperature conditions. So the temperature conditions would be your independent variable. The height of the flower would be the dependent variable, right?
Yes.
And of course, if there is the correlation, then if you've got a correlation, I think we had a correlation of about 0.9, and it was positive.
Positive.
Right. So then you know that you've got a strong positive correlation. So those are your low-hanging fruit on scatter plots. Just know, let's say if they give you a heat value, right, and they say to you predict. So there are two ways of predicting. We call it interpolation. So this is a data point that falls within your range of data points that you have, right? Your minimum value versus your maximum value. So if a data point falls within the range there, we say that's interpolation, right?
Sure.
So for instance, if you, let's say you started with a temperature of 20 degrees all the way to 80 degrees,
sure.
right? And if I say to you, predict what would be the temperature at 60 degrees,
Sure.
that's interpolation.
Yes.
But if I say to you, predict the temperature at 100 degrees, now that's outside of your range.
Yes.
So that means that you're going to use, that's extrapolation. So that's data that is outside. And please remember, you use your regression equation in that case.
Yes.
Just insert the value and then simple calculator work. So please know how to interpret. A good 10 marks, you've got it in the bag. And then let's go to...
And before I'd like to say the same applies when our line of best fit is a negative gradient. Yes, the same applies.
Yes,
so
yes.
minus 0.85 to minus 9.99.
Yeah, negative
yes,
0.0.
And also until minus 1.
Sure.
We would say that is
strong
We'll say that is strong negative correlation.
Negative. So that's very
Yes.
important
So
for us to have. Okay, great stuff. So going on into the other part of statistics. Hey Washana, I'd like to invite you to a series of masterclasses. Now these masterclasses are aimed at preparing you towards your final exams. Now I'm mindful that you don't struggle with all the topics in mathematics or on science. So we've structured it in such a way that we'll be covering a topic a day. So you can select from the topic of your choice, the one that you'd like to attend, and you are sure that we will deliver on exactly what your needs will be. So join us on this series of masterclasses. I hope to see you there. So let's talk about ogives.
Yes.
Okay. I think that should be quite a quick one. So there we are looking at, so either they will give us data points and they will want us to draw an ogive,
Sure.
or sometimes it's the other way around, right? Now, what would be maybe the most important thing for us to remember there?
First of all, make sure your ogive is grounded. Your ogive needs to be grounded. It needs to touch what is in your horizontal axis. So please ground your ogives. That is important.
Right. Maybe you want to unpack that a little bit. So sometimes they give us, let's say, a class interval.
Sure.
That starts from 20 to 30,
Sure.
30 to 40. All right. So what do you mean when you say grounded? So which means you would have drawn your ogive from 20.
Yes.
Right? So this is now meaning it doesn't start from 0. Okay? So you are saying extend it. So if mine, for instance, started from 20 to 30, right? So that means that my first point would be at 20, right?
Okay.
Where x is 20.
Where x is 20.
Right?
Yes.
So then you are saying I need to extend it and take it all the way to 0.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Right. Okay?
So that extension, sometimes you can take the minimum value of the class interval.
Yeah.
So there, sometimes your first point is not 20 paired with something. It's actually the upper value of the first class interval, which is if it's 30, then we say 30 and we pair it with that point that we have. And then the grounding, we go to the minimum value of that class interval, and then we point it to 0. If then that is not given, you try to gauge what is the range of each class interval, and then extend your graph accordingly.
Okay. Let's talk about the cumulative values, right?
Sure.
So usually, if let's say you were given in a table format, okay?
Sure.
You must be able to take your values and just extend your table just a bit and be able to draw the cumulative frequency values.
Yes.
Right? Gonja, how do we do that? So the first value,
yes,
you just simply export that.
Yes.
Right? And then that first exported value plus the second value,
yes,
right, gives us the next value.
Yes.
That value, next one, gives us the next value. So remember to draw your cumulative frequency values, right? And then also very important, I think one of the things that learners usually ask about are percentiles. All right?
Sure.
The question that we had the other day was based on drawing or rather interpreting a cumulative frequency graph, an ogive,
yes,
into, or rather taking that and changing it into a 5-number summary, for instance, a box-and-whisker plot.
Sure.
Okay. So wanna weigh in on that?
Oh, okay. So what I usually do, also in the cumulative frequency table, also have a small column of midpoints of every class interval. That helps a lot. Have the midpoints of every class interval so that you have what I call then ungrouped data. So you are creating your own ungrouped data in a sense.
Yeah.
So from that, and then you then check using the graph. So we start at or on the x-axis. Where are we? Where is our Q1? So our Q1, we know it has a formula 1/4 multiplied by n plus 1. So Q1 is essentially the first 25% of the data.
Right. So
Yes.
I wanted to get to that. So
Yes.
Q1 is the 25th percentile.
The 25th percentile.
Yeah. So anytime they talk about percentile, it means you're going to take that percentage.
Yes.
So if they say the 55th percentile,
Yes.
so it means that's 55%.
55%
Of
the
what?
data.
Your maximum,
Yeah, maximum
value, right?
Yes.
So that means it's of the total
Number of subjects or data data points. Yes.
So, for instance, if they said to us we had 67 students,
Sure.
right? So you'll say that's 25% of those 67 students. Then that would you
Give us a position.
a position,
Yes.
right on the Y. Follow the line, and then you're going to follow the same line on your axis, right? See vertically where does it land, and that becomes your Q1.
Sure.
Right? So on any percentile, that's how you're going to get that value. And please, guys, I want to emphasize this. This section, again, is there on our videos. Please go and have a look at it. Those are your low-hanging fruit, okay? Please make sure that you really know what to do in statistics. If you don't know what to do, it can really be frustrating, and it's pointless for you to even enter the exam, not knowing or
Yes.
even attempt it, because there's no way you can just wing it in statistics. It's either you know what to do or you don't. And really knowing what to do is quite easy, né?
Yes.
Okay, right. So please go ahead and look at those videos. I want us to go now to our last number.
Yes.